All right, guys, I have to apologize in advance for this one. I know that these are supposed to be 2-minute tidbits, and the property inspections has changed so much. I cannot do this in 2 minutes and figure splitting it up into a couple of different videos is just not helpful. So this is going to be longer than 2 minutes. Bear with me. I will make it as quick as possible. So on the residential contract of sale, on page 3, it outlines the property condition inspections. So A, inclusions, exclusions. Now, included in the purchase price are all permanently attached fixtures, including a smoke detector, certain other now existing items which may be considered personal property, whether installed or stored under the property, are included if identified in the disclosure of inclusions, exclusions, lease items, utilities, etc. So if you want them to leave the Adirondack chairs outside, they can leave the Adirondack chairs outside. They need to be listed on the inclusions, exclusions addendum. And I would also in there have an addendum of some sort that says that they are of no monetary value for the lender's purposes. Condition of property and possession, except as otherwise specified in this contract, including this paragraph, the property is sold as is. At settlement, seller shall deliver possession of the vacant property vacant, clear of trash and debris, broom clean, and in substantially the same condition as existed the date of contract acceptance. Buyer reserves the right to inspect the property within 5 days prior to settlement to confirm the condition of the property. This is in some ways paragraph 21 from the previous contract. Broom swept, property is as is, buyer retains the right to do a final walkthrough. Inspections contingency. If buyer and seller agree, buyer will be afforded the opportunity at buyer's sole cost and expense to condition buyer's purchase of the property upon inspections to ascertain any unsatisfactory conditions. Buyer and seller acknowledge that brokers, agents, and subagents are not responsible for the existence or discovery of property defects. Any buyer inspection contingency must be established through addenda to this contract. Do they want inspections? Yes or no? This again, similarly in the previous contract, they would say inspection addenda attached or declined. Here's the big difference here is that previously we had 3 options. Option 1 was as is, no inspections. Option 2 was as is with inspections and the right to terminate, but however, the buyer was attesting that they would not make any requests. Option 3 is full inspections. They're going to make a request. Actually, I guess a 4th option with the request, the standard addendum, unless Box 4B was initialed, the buyer was always going to make a request. They did not have the right to unilaterally terminate. And then the 4th option would have been if Box 4B was initialed by all parties, the buyer had the option to do inspections and either make a request or unilaterally release. In the new iteration of the contract and the addenda, only options 1 and 4 exist. That the buyer may do inspections, in which case they either have the option to make a request or terminate, as long as all parties have agreed to that inspection addendum, or it may be as is and no inspections may be performed. There is no informational only, or will definitely make a request. I know that a lot of people don't love this, and it is what it is. We're talking about how to navigate in this world. So moving on now to the property inspections addendum. This is what will be included if the buyer initials inspection addenda attached. If inspections are declined, there's no need to include this. Property inspections addendum. There's now one time frame. One. Previously, each specific inspection had its own time frame. So often what folks would do is they would do maybe 10 days for structural and mechanical and then 14 for radon because it takes a couple of extra days. In this case, all of the days need to be the same. The information about the inspection scope and limitations, the not routine maintenance or cosmetic in nature. Of course, plenty of agents will say, just here, go over the whole summary section from the inspection and do all of those. But this is, age is not a defect, cosmetic is not a defect, wear and tear, routine maintenance, not a defect. So you're going to elect for what inspections you would like to do, including any additional inspections that should be added there. Noting here, buyer's right to inspect and or test well and septic system, water quality, and water yield shall be reserved through separate addenda. The buyer intends to obtain financing through the Veterans Administration. Buyer retains the right to conduct an inspection for wood-destroying insects at their expense pursuant to VA regulations, notwithstanding the agreements the parties stating it. They cannot waive the right to terminate. Okay, so similarly to the previous previous addendum, again, it's as if box 4B from the previous version of this, or the prior addendum, I guess that one's gone and it's been totally revised. It's as if box 4B is always checked. So buyer can make a request or buyer can terminate the contract. The seller does not have the right to terminate. So by right to terminate, right to negotiate. Same timeframes apply if the buyer chooses to negotiate. Buyer makes a request by the end of their time frame. Seller has 5 days to respond. Buyer has 2 days to respond. What they've added here is additional negotiations after 2 days of delivery. So buyer makes a request, seller has 5 days, buyer then has 2 days to respond. In this case, buyer can make a counter to the seller's counter, and then the seller can counter again. And what it says here, after 2 days after delivery of a counter offer regarding the requested repairs and or seller credit, the receiving party must deliver notice accepting the terms contained immediately, or continuing negotiations by making a further counteroffer, or terminate the contract. Failure of the receiving party to timely respond to any counteroffer shall constitute their automatic acceptance of that counteroffer, with all other terms of the contract of sale remaining in full force and effect. This, I think, might be a paragraph that they end up adjusting because it makes it seem like you can go back and forth 2 days, 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 2 days ad infinitum, which is not ideal here. Before I get to the PIN, we'll just go through contract to termination and deposits. If either party elects to terminate the contract of sale in accordance with the terms of the addendum, the contract will become null and void, and all deposits shall be dispersed according to the deposit paragraph. So it follows the deposit paragraph as always. Okay, property inspections notice, which is what we use when we make the actual request. This is in many ways looks very similar. Again, the inspections provided are not for the purpose of making items of a routine maintenance or cosmetic nature the subject of further negotiations. Age is not a defect. So which inspections you're doing here, again, because in the property inspections addendum, you only have 1 day. The design is that there will only be one request. You will not make a request for structural, mechanical, and radon, and pool, and well and septic. It will just be one complete request. So no corrective action. Has attached the entire report, and here is the request. Response from seller, we'll do some, we'll do all, we'll not do any, we'll do some and not all, and here's what it is. Or there's a credit involved. No, you can see here, this is now, so previously was that the seller would make their response, buyer would say yes, no, or yes, I want to move forward with that, or I'm going to release. Here, the buyer makes a counter offer. Buyer accepts the corrective action, accepts the credit, terminates the contract or proposes something else. Response from seller. Seller can again accept buyer's counteroffer, terminate, propose a counteroffer, and then right here is where the buyer has the final say. I think that the intention was that it would not go back and forth more than 6 times. Again, the wording here on the additional negotiations does not clarify how many times they can go back and forth. However, my hope is that most realtors will stick to this number of times back and forth, and hopefully we can make it much shorter than that. However, I do think that we should all be prepared for longer contract terms because of the changes in this. There's another additional as-is provisions addendum, which we'll go over separately. However, please note that that because we do not have that as is with inspections for informational purposes only, this document will always be used. Now, if they're not making any requests, that they will have an A there. However, this document would always be used in that case.